Good morning, and thank you for joining me for this Sunday sermon from Holy Saviour Church in Hitchin. I'd like to read to you a short passage from Mark's Gospel, chapter 6, beginning at verse 30. The apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret and anchored there. As soon as they got out of the boat, people recognized Jesus. They ran throughout that whole region and carried the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, into villages, towns, or countryside, they placed the sick in the marketplace. They begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. Once a man went to see a friend of his who was a professor at a great university. However, as they sat chatting in the professor's office, they were continually interrupted by students who came knocking at the door, seeking the professor's advice about this or that. Each time the professor rose from his chair, went to the door and dealt with the student's request. And eventually the visitor asked the professor, "How on earth do you cope? How do you manage to get any work done at all with all these interruptions?" And he replied, "At first, I used to resent the interruptions to my work, but one day it suddenly dawned on me that the interruptions were my work." The professor could have locked himself away. He could have devoted his time to his own private work. In that way, he would no doubt have had a quieter life. But being the generous and unselfish person that he was, he just couldn't do that. Instead, he made his work consist of being available to his students. It was no surprise that he was greatly loved by his students, and it was no coincidence that he was one of the happiest and most fulfilled professors on the campus. Unselfishness is never an easy thing, and yet at certain times it's easier than at others. It's easier when we're able to plan our good deeds, when the deed is one of our own choosing, and we just happen to be in the right kind of mood, and it causes us the minimum of inconvenience and disruption. At other times, unselfishness is really difficult, when the deed is not of our own choosing at all, when we just don't feel in the mood, or when it's sprung on us at a really awkward moment. In such cases, we have to forget ourselves, we have to set aside our feelings and our plans, and there's a real sacrifice. An act of kindness is judged not so much by its importance, but by the disruption it causes in the life of the one who does it. It's a great test of people when, at the drop of a hat, they put aside their own plans to help other people. It's a consolation for us to know that Jesus too had to cope with lots and lots of interruptions. He too had his plans upset. And today's gospel tells us that he was in such great demand that he and his disciples scarcely had time to eat. However, at some point he clearly decided that enough was enough, and he took the disciples off to a quiet place for a break. And this time he wasn't thinking of himself, but of his disciples. They had just come back from the mission on which he had sent them. He saw that they needed a rest. So he decided to take them off to this quiet place. The carers, too, need to be cared for. However, things didn't go as planned, because all these people followed them. And how did Jesus react? Far from getting annoyed, he receives the people. And this tells us a lot about the kind of person that he was. He's moved with pity for them. He saw that they were leaderless. The official Jewish leaders and teachers just didn't really have that much time for ordinary people. But Jesus did have time for them, and that is why they flocked to him. Caring is never an easy thing, and some people are willing to care a little, provided they're just in the right kind of mood, provided it's not too inconvenient, provided it doesn't upset their own plans. But to care as Jesus did, when it does upset your plans, that's a much bigger test. Parents have to do this all the time. How many times when their children are young do they have to get out of bed at night to see to a child? All of us are capable of caring, and the need for caring people is great. Neglect is widespread in our society. There are many people in our world who are like sheep without a shepherd. When we care, we are living the gospel. Good can come out of interruptions that prevent us from becoming totally preoccupied with ourselves. Selfishness is a kind of prison. Love, on the other hand, sets us free. The great South American priest and thinker Helder Camara said this. He said, "Accept surprises that upset your plans, shatter your dreams, give a completely different turn to your day, and, who knows, to your life. It's not chance. Leave God free to weave the pattern of your days." Our hymn for today is "The King of Love My Shepherd Is," and may God's peace go with you.